What's up, people? Wow, it's another episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh show, and we've got another awesome returning guest. Introduce yourself again, bro.
Hi, I'm Ben Challoner, also known as Benny C, or Chen's Cards as my other alias. I'm quite good, I guess, at Yu-Gi-Oh! Some would say. Others would say very mid, but we're here. So.
Love it. Yeah, man. We've got Ben, and as we all know, we've got UK Open this weekend, and not just UK Open. There's also German Open this weekend as well. So it's going to be a very, very. I mean, it's kind of mad when you think about it because, obviously, with our drought of events, this is like where it's at. Like, if you want to go to an event in Europe, these two events are pretty spectacular. Like, where everyone's very excited about them. So we're going to be doing a lot of talk about the meta, about what we're expecting in the event and such. And so, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to flip the order around. We were going to start with this at the end, but I'm going to put it at the beginning. Dan, have you got some quick fire questions that we can shoot at Ben before we sink into the meta talk?
Oh, God.
Of course. On a side note, it feels nice to actually do an episode where we're talking about the meta, because I feel like over the last few episodes we've really tried to avoid it. So it's kind of nice to actually just sit down and get our teeth into just exactly what is going on. But Ben, I've got a few little quick fire questions I'm going to just shoot at you, just to kind of get the juices rolling. Whenever you're ready, my friend.
All right, cool. Let's go.
So we'll start off with a nice and easy one. Do you prefer rogue or meta from a fun perspective?
Oh, that's a good one. So it's quite difficult. Like, obviously, rogue's cool. There's some cool decks in rogue, obviously. And like it really depends on like where you want to put yourself. Like for me, I always want to put myself at the top of my game, and like for me, the fun in the game is being like at the top and like always performing well. So like for me, it'll always be picking the meta side. Unfortunately for some, but it's always one of those where like there's always going to be like it's always a thing at locals where there's casual players and there's meta players, and unfortunately I'm one of those meta players. So
yeah, you're the boogeyman at the kiddie, ain't it? Fair enough. So next one we'll go for. Do you prefer simulators such as Edo Pro or Dueling Book?
So it depends on what you want, really. So like if you're learning a deck, then you want to use something like Edo Pro, like knowing when effects activate, etc., and where effects like apply in certain areas. But if you're like just wanting to test with friends and like wanting to like literally grind a deck to the point where you can, for example, if there's been a misclick or something like that, you can go back and forth, because like Edo Pro and stuff like that don't let you go back. Like once you commit to a play, it's committed. And like granted, that's grand and all, but like it doesn't help in like the long term, where it's like learning like how to play and stuff and like testing with your friends. Like I always use DB as much as I can just to grind through like ladder and stuff myself. But like learning a deck, like I'll watch just like videos and stuff anyway on like how the deck works. So probably just Dueling Book at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think Dueling Book's probably the best for becoming a better player overall, because it's just ingrains the muscle memory and stuff like that. Right?
And like if you think about it as well, like Master Duel, you've got this thing that pops up saying, "Would you like to activate this card effect? Would you like to activate this card effect?" In IRL and stuff like that, you don't have that opportunity to get the little pop-up that goes, "Oh, your opponent's activated this. Would you like to Ash Blossom?"
Yeah. No way like that at all.
No cheat sheets. So next one, we'll throw it back in time a little bit. Do you prefer Edison or Goat?
Ooh, so I was a big fan of Goat. So me and my mate Luke Bennett, we looked at Goat when we were like 16, 17 for the first time in like 2015, and like we were big into Goat. We loved Goat, and then obviously this Edison format came out. Well, I say came out, it got discovered a bit more, and as I've been playing it a lot, like playing the zombie deck in Edison, like I've been enjoying Edison more in the sense of like you start like learning to like play around different cards, or like you start remembering like the card pool and stuff, and like that's the beauty of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like because it has such a wide card pool now, you have to remember like all the cards and stuff now, and like that allows you that I think that format's enough to allow you to hone in on those skills of what do these cards do, what does that card do, and then like adapt from there into modern day sense as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I do think that's quite a thing about Edison. It really does sort of bridge that gap between modern day and like old time for Yu-Gi-Oh really well. So we're going to change pace a little bit here. Do you prefer Duel Monsters or GX?
Ooh, that's a good one. So like when I was a kid, like I thought GX was cooler, obviously, because like the fact that there was an academy, and like when I was a kid, I thought that there was an actual duelist academy, and I always wanted to go there. Like as a kid, like be able to like learn how to play like even better. But like obviously, it's the real world at the end of the day. But like as a young child, you see something like that and you think, oh my god, Yu-Gi-Oh, let's go! Like it's just, yeah, I'd have to say GX for me personally.
Yeah, that's the correct choice, by the way, for all of our listeners. So don't let nostalgia fool you. And then just going back to the event talk a little bit, do you prefer events in the UK or outside of the UK from your own experience?
So obviously, it's nice when an event's in the UK because, for myself, because I drive, it's easier to like sometimes get there because you'd have to hop on a plane or a train or a boat or something daft like that and spend like thousands of pounds to get there, for example. However, with the niceness of Yu-Gi-Oh being that you can travel, see the world and everything, it's actually quite nice being able to go, say, like Italy, Germany, France, Netherlands, be able to experience the cultures at these different places and, look outside of the UK other than, just being stuck within the small island that we are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know a lot of Americans that would agree with you as well that we haven't got much here, so
And finally, and I call back to something we were discussing on the last episode, would you rather pay for, say, a spreadsheet on how debt works or coaching?
So it's an interesting one.
If any.
Yeah, of course. So I've had coaching in the past, and coaching is grand and great and everything in the sense of like you learn a lot from them. You get the insight, you get everything from the coach itself, and you get like their thought process as they tell you how to play the deck and stuff. However, like now looking at it, like if there was the option between taking like coaching for a deck or a spreadsheet for a deck now that what I've learned from those coaching sessions in the past, I'd probably take a spreadsheet. But like sort of the most recent spreadsheets that have been available is ones on YouTube with the combo videos. Like I think top players like Christian Urena and all of that have been doing like a great job with like showing like the actual snake eye combos in the sense of like, okay, this is what you do if you only open Ash, this is what you do if you open Ash plus Witch, this is what you do if you only open Witch and you can get to this point. And like they really do show like a lot of the checkpoints as well in those sort of videos. Like if there was more like content where it was like, okay, so these are the combo videos and these are every checkpoint that you have for this hand trap, this hand trap, this hand trap, this hand trap, I think the game would get ultimately a lot harder for everyone, and everyone will be at that point where it will just be a matter of skill and who puts in the reps rather than who can remember a spreadsheet rather than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a really good point as well, because it's a similar thing that happened in League, where if you look at League in season 1 and 2 and then you look at a League player now, the quality of player is so different, largely because the YouTube community and the coaching and the understanding how to play the game got so much better, and it made the game harder. Like if you got a gold player from season 2, and if you got a gold player from now and you put them back in season 2, they'll get like master easily, because it's just you just know how to do the basic things. The gap between the best players and the worst players is a lot smaller, and I think it's a really good point that would happen in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I don't want that to happen. I like it. I like there being players that I'm better than. I don't want everyone to be better. I'm happy that best players consistently beat. So, yeah.
Awesome stuff. So that was quick fire questions with
love it.
with me, I suppose. So thank you for your time. And Fabs, let's jump into a little bit of this meta talk.
Yeah, so obviously we have UK Open, and I think the big elephant or snake in the room is obviously the Snake Eye deck, battering everything, knocking people left and right. So what do you think about this deck? How do you think it's going to do at the Open? In fact, I would say to start off with, let's talk about the deck from just purely looking at the Snake Eye deck itself and how strong it is. What are some really impressive things we think about the Snake Eye? What do you think that it does well? Why do we think the deck is so good? What really makes Snake Eye the best deck right now?
Well, for starters, it has a lot of one card starters. Let's get it out of the open there. The fact that you can just get to a scenario of different boards and then adapt on that is just phenomenal. The fact that the deck has multiple like playthrough points where it's like hand trap check here, hand trap check here, hand trap check here, carry on playing, and all of that. Another thing as well, it's like the fact that you can play cards like cross out designator now and just be like rewarded for your deck building choice based around the cards that you pick. Another thing as well is that it has a very precise and compact engine compared to any other deck, kind of like Zoo was back in the day. And you can fit so much non-engine around it, which allows you to obviously combat with your decks like Branded or your decks like
Vanadium or something.
Vanadium, Vanadium.
Funnily enough, I would even point at Vanadium, and someone actually said it in a video today, and it's the first person I've heard say it. I would look at Vanadium as almost identical to Snake Eye in the way Konami's tried to design the two decks. And I think the only difference is that Snake Eye was designed with the ability to summon from the deck more, whereas Vanadium was designed with the ability to search more. But they're very similar in that it's like, it's one card, it just does a whole host. And I think another really big thing about the Snake Eye deck that is so important is that you can die in a flash with Snake Eye because they get so much advantage off one or two cards. You can't even afford to make mistakes on turn 2 and turn 3. So when I went to the regional last weekend, I was against someone going second, and both times they made such like irrelevant mistakes in the grand scheme of things. Like I think once someone like forgot to use his pop last second effect to put card in the zone. Another one, a guy didn't realize that Zelantis's pops don't he didn't realize they don't target. So Zelantis says like co-linked monsters. It's up to the number of co-linked monsters, and a lot of people they don't realize that it's 2 because it's 2 monsters being co-linked. They think it's just 1, so he thought it was 2 pop. It was 1 pop instead of 2. And it's like with Snake Eye, if you make a mistake, you die. Even with the tier format, you don't actually die if you make a mistake because both players have so many interactions that a lot of the times it does end up being a grind, even over the 1 or 2 turns. Whereas in Snake Eye, you make a mistake and then it's like, nope, you're dead now because they've got 1 Ash and that 1 Ash is going to violate your entire board and kill you. And I think that's a really, really big thing about Snake Eye. Like it's what makes the deck so hard to play against. I would say even like if you haven't played Snake Eye yourself, I fear for you. In the next few tournaments, it's going to be peak because you won't know what's happening. Yeah, I think it's really, really important about it.
Yeah, I think for myself, just looking at the whole Snake Eye package, I feel like each card, we're really talking about Ash and Popular really, but each card does so many things. Like you get in a search, a summon from deck, you get in recursion, you get Flamberge out of the deck, which again is more recursion, and just like you said, like if you don't kill them on turn 2, like the chances of you surviving and then like clapping back on turn like 4, it's just not happening. Which just makes it a very, very obvious choice for a lot of people just because it literally just does everything. The one thing I do like about this format is the fact that there are times you have to get lucky, but an Ash can stop their turn or like a Veiler can stop their turn and they're just like, oh, okay, I guess I pass. Whereas Tia, I just felt like it didn't matter what I did. Like I'm just going to die. Like if I'm not playing Tia,
futile,
yeah, you just felt like he's going to die. So yeah, I do like it in that respect that you do have a 0.5% chance of actually winning a game if you're not playing Snake Eye yourself.
Yeah, just to expand on that point a little bit from there, Andre, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I've noticed in terms of other decks in the format, I've really seen that people are just looking at decks and straight away and going, can this fit 12 to 15 hand traps? If it can't, we're not going to give it the time of day. And that's something that, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen that in quite a while, to be honest. Like, even in like cash format and tier format and things like that, there were still rogue decks that had like maybe only like 7 to 10 non-flex slots. But these decks, like other than like really dedicated pilots, you need to have enough room to pelt 2 or 3 hand traps at a Snake Eye player and then do a 1-card combo in order to try and get a look in, right?
Yeah. And so I was having a chat with some guys on Andretti's Discord because I wanted to do a board breaker build, and we were saying that the problem is with Snake Eyes is that advantage game, and essentially the deck is so efficient because on your turn they're going to get like +3, and then on their turn they're going to get like +3, and off one card they can kill you anyway. So it's like the reason why is with our decks like Cash and TR, you break their board and their follow up isn't necessarily super powerful. Like Cash, for example, does have follow up, but only really has like a little bit. Like if you stop the first summon, for example, sometimes they even stuck because they aren't able to summon another monster. Or if their birth gets stopped, they can't play. But with Snake Eye, it's like they're going to get loads of advantage, and then if you clear their board, that doesn't matter because next turn they're getting all the cards back anyway. So yeah, it's really a case of you can't even afford to not play a bunch of hand traps. The only way to really beat Snake Eye consistently, outside of playing Flounder and Cash, is like, and even that's not consistently, I'd say, but it's like the only way to really consistently beat them is to say Snake Eye Ash Imperm, then when they activate original Ash, and then you get and like chuck 12 hand traps at them. Yeah, and then sometimes they play 3/6 hand traps anyway, like Pac did against Harney. So I mean, there's that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame because I think I've been playing Raid Raptors recently, and that is just like exactly what you've explained, Dan. Just 12 to 15 hand traps and then like 1 or 2 card starters. But it makes for a frustrating game at times because sometimes I only see hand traps, and obviously my rogue deck doesn't have a 1-card starter like Snake Eye does. So then I'm dying to myself because I'm just like hand looping myself with all these hand traps I'm throwing at my opponent, and he's looking at me. His Snake Eye Ash is still on board, and he's looking into my eyes thinking, at some point you're going to run out and I'm going to kill you. And I'm just thinking, okay, yeah, that's fine. I guess we'll go to game 2. And I find that frustrating, but then I understand. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of players are getting to that point, which is why you're seeing like the rise of like stun decks.
Let's talk about that for a bit.
Yeah, because everyone's like, you know, I've had enough. I'm just going to do what I can to just make your life as difficult as possible. And me personally, I think it's funny. I'll be honest.
Before we get into, I just want to do a quick ad, guys. I have the best stun deck. I made it 2 nights ago. It's the best stun deck in the format, but I'm not releasing it because I don't want anyone to play it for UK Open. However, as soon as UK Open finishes, you guys will be shocked it'll be on my channel. So if you're not subscribed already, you better. I'm like, you guys think I'm joking. This stun deck, I was on DB last night. I was against like the first place guy, the third place guy. I rattled them so hard. They got stunned out of the. I put like 6 floodgates on the board. They didn't know what was happening. So guys, look, I've got the best stun deck coming. If you're not subbed,
Stun spreadsheets soon come, yeah. Fast.
You've never seen someone finish skill drain like me.
You know, Fabs is serious when he's looking straight into the camera. And that's
But yeah, sorry, yeah. So yeah, let's talk a bit about. Actually, though, sorry, just on the Snake Eye thing, I have one other question that I wanted to ask Ben quickly, so I don't forget. And it's one of the things I also think that makes Snake Eye ridiculous is the card Triple Tactics Talent. That card is flipping stupid. Ben, what do you think? Should that card still be in the game?
So it's very interesting, actually. So obviously, you see a lot of people that are, you know, looking towards building boards differently so that they can combat stuff with the tactic talents because of the goddess lines and everything. But you've also got the fact that you're playing cards like Crossout Designator and stuff to combat it. I'm not sure whether or not talents should stay or not. Like, it's always a format dependent card, I find. It always suits decks, obviously, that are 1-card starters, for example, Prank Kids, all of those sort of decks. It's always benefited those sort of decks more, to say the least. Even in tier format, it benefited the tier players because, you know, you were doing everything during each other's turns that it just got to the point where it's like, well, it doesn't matter where I do it. And like, you know, some people were even to the point where it's like, it was this thing of, well, we got to play only 1 talents because we don't want to mill it off of their millers. And then they hit off of their millers, then they go and make the I'm trying to think of the dragon now that was made back in the day.
Mud Dragon.
No, it's the level 6
Wallow.
Rank, yeah, Wallow, that's it, yeah.
Oh, and then they take it, mad.
And then take it and activate
this
it.
How you know I didn't play during tier format because I had no idea this was a thing. That's mad.
Yeah, no, that was a thing. And like, stuff like that. Like I always think that Talents is a card that introduces new ways of deck building and new ways of thinking about like the way you build your boards, and it makes the smarter and the more technical player rewarded based off of the decisions. Because like if you think about it, the card has 3 decisions on it, and like you have to think through like every decision that you make. Like you have to think, oh, is it worth it now to look at the hand, take a play out of the hand, or is it worth it to draw 2 and then can I play after that draw 2? Like it's a very complex card that allows complex decision making, and the maths rattling around in your head always go, is it worth doing it here and there?
Yeah. Oh, Dan, I feel like you're about to say something. Did I interrupt you?
Not really. I'll let you go forth and I'll share my thoughts on Talents.
I was just going to say, because I feel like with there, Ben, you focus really heavily, I feel like, on it going second. I feel like my problem with Talents is going first. When I'm going first and I have Talents, it feels like, oh my gosh, it just feels so unfair. It feels so unfair.
That's like the point I was sort of aiming to go for. Like Talents is like probably one of the best board breaking cards in the game, I think. Just snatch steal, like it's just unfair. Drawing 2 when you go in second, like, is good sometimes, but I feel like if you're going first, like the knowledge that it gives you when you look at the opponent's hand, it tells you what to play around. Like it loops them for a card, so they've already hand trapped you. They're already 2 cards down.
Yeah.
Like I just think going first, it's just ridiculously powerful, and I'd argue it's probably more powerful than Thrust, maybe, because it doesn't take up any main deck spots for like cheesy things like Deck Devastation Virus or whatever. Not that Thrust's not good, because Thrust is bonkers. But yeah, I think Talents is one of the best cards that's ever been printed, but I don't actually think it's ban-worthy, Fabs. I know you were raging about this in our group chat a couple of days ago. Sorry to burst your bubble.
It's always format dependent, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Andre, what do you think about Andre?
What Talents? I agree with what you said. I think it's borderline on in the same sense of this is the way that I think of it. Like Summer Limit, all those floodgates, which just supplement your board. I think like Talents is one of those, and especially in this current format, like what Ben was saying, it is format dependent, but everybody knows that there's 12 to 15 hand traps in everybody's deck. So if you go first and you see a Talents and you see Snake Eye Ash, that's it for your opponent, in my opinion. And I don't think that's fair, because the reason why you're playing hand traps is to give yourself a chance at playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and you get punished for it. But in the other vein, I understand that it's a tool that's needed to go second. And I don't know who I was speaking to, but they always said to me, the draw 2 is the weakest effect. And I was like, really? Yeah. And I was like, well, yeah. When I thought about it, I was like, you know what? You're actually right. The draw 2 is actually the weakest effect, and that's crazy to think about off a card. Do you know what I mean? So
that was actually something that me and Jake from Sanctum Squad were talking about. Like he's a vehement believer that the draw 2 effect of Talents is the weakest. And since looking at it from that perspective, it really does sort of open your eyes to just how broken the card is, which is nuts when you say part of greed's not good. It is good, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it really just comes down to when you look at how most decks work. Most effects are once per turn, and so if I've just used an effect and you've stopped me, what is draw a lot of time, unless you're playing very specific decks, and I think Vanadium is another good example. Vanadium is one of those decks that has so many extenders that draw 2 sometimes does come up for them, but even then, it's like most of the time I can probably just extend through that one hand trap you did, unless it's like a nibble or a shifter. And so in which case, looking in your hand and making sure you can't do anything again is more than enough. And it's also because it's how Konami designs decks now. Konami rarely designed, unless they really don't like your archetype. If Konami is designing an archetype nowadays, it usually has like 1, 2, 3 lines of play that it can do that are like usually kind of distinct from each other, which means that as long as you've got kind of some semi-extender in your hand, looking in hand is always going to be the better option. Yeah, definitely. Let's wrap back around into the amazing deck types that we are going to talk before, and this goes on into, I think, linked into what we think. What are the other decks that are to watch out for? And I definitely agree. I think Stun is actually. I think that if you're a good player, so not me, I'm talking like the Ben level, the people who consistently top. I don't think you need to. But if you're a good player, I don't think Stun is necessarily that important for you. I think just because it's not too hard to beat Stun players, in my opinion, most of the time. But I think for the average player, Stun is very, very hard to deal with. because
think one thing with stun specifically right now is people aren't really siding back row removal other than like maybe Cosmic Cyclone. And in a format where you don't have a lot of back row removal, immediately these kind of decks are going to flourish. Like especially game one. Like game one, if you win, it's cheesy, but if you win the dice roll and you stick a diner, it's like, ugh. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Dino and Golgonda, so you can't even be over it.
Wow. So fun. What do you think about stun, Ben? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Again, like it's always one of those like people go, "Oh, I'm playing stun because I don't want to play meta." But if you think about it, the way that you're building your stun deck is to beat the meta in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to have some knowledge of like meta anyway.
Yeah.
It's just some guy said it once at our locals. It was like, yeah, I don't play meta decks. I play anti-meta decks, and I'm like, well, you have to somewhat understand the meta in the first place to play an anti-meta deck. So like, you know, that comment itself is like sort of redundant in a way.
Sort of an oxymoron, right?
Yeah, biggest oxymoron in your life. But like, I think they're like very good for like meta like calls for an event. Like say for example, like you don't feel that you have an edge. Let's say like for example, me and Dan, right? We're playing Snake Eye Mirrors like back and forth, and let's say the game win rate is like I don't know for Dan like 100% and me like 0% as a hypothetical like situation.
No, this isn't hypothetical, Ben. This is our local.
Wow.
No, for the record, no, I would definitely not win a Snake Eye Mirror against anyone. But yeah, carry on.
But like, yeah, if you feel that you don't have that edge in the mirror compared to like all the other people that you're playing, like if you walk into a room, for example, like a YCS, and you're like, oh, Joshua Smith's there, okay, he's going to be playing Snake Eye. Do I feel that I have that edge against him, for example? Like you could like say, for example, go 4-0 for the first 4 rounds of a YCS, and then you come up against the big leagues. And if you honestly think that like it takes like the more luck than skill against that player, then yeah, obviously a stun deck will, you know, benefit you in that sense. But like I'm always a big believer of if the best deck of the format is obviously this deck for a lot of the time, you should go with the best deck. But if you don't gel with it too well, or like you just get bored of it too quickly, or I don't know, it's just like a headache to play.
Before you go
you can't get it for X or Y reason.
Yeah.
Before you go past that point, Ben, I think this is so important that I want you to expand on your reasoning for why you think it is good in general for someone to just go with the best deck of the format, because I think it's so important. I feel like you're about to hit it there.
Yeah, so like it's always better because like in certain senses, like you can eliminate a lot of variance from like the way that you play the event, for example. So like unless like you physically don't know the deck itself and like you feel that you don't have like that edge in the mirror matches, then that's where looking at the other decks come. But like if you're putting like, you know, the hours in like pretty much the same hours as if you have a 40-hour job, for example, to learn that deck, then like yeah, you should 100% play the best deck in the room to eliminate variance, to eliminate the fact that, you know, you have less reasons of why to say, oh, I didn't do well because I played this deck. I didn't do well because I played Flunderies instead of playing Snake Eye, or I played Moki Moki instead of playing Snake Eye, for example. And like it makes it so that you just eliminate all sorts of different variants, and you've got the best possible way of coming out with a perfect result that you could possibly have, unless you are absolutely garbage with the deck and don't know anything about the deck. Then obviously, you know, looking at the anti-meta, or, you know, one of the other decks in the categories, like, you know, your Voiceless Voice, your Flues, your Cash, you know, other versions of fire decks, like, for example, Race and stuff like that. Like, if you're so comfortable with a deck that you can, like, pilot it really well, then yeah, take it, obviously. Like, you know, during Unchained format, you know, I couldn't play the Unchained Mirror to save my life. It was just hard. It was just everything was just a headache. So I just went, all right, I'm going to play Labyrinth and just try and play Labyrinth the best that I can for that YCS. Unfortunately, going 9-3 at Dortmund, but
which is still a fantastic score, by the way.
Well, the draws will say otherwise, but
Yeah.
but going into that event, I went, I know I can't beat that, like the Jesse Cottons, I can't beat the Jordan Gallaghers or the other big people that have been grinding Unchained. I went, right, I'm going to go in with the deck that I honestly think that I have the best chance of doing it with, and so I did it, and it happened. Like we made day 2 at least, but like it's not the top. So
okay. But yeah, no, I definitely really agree with you, and I think that really is the clincher. I think that sometimes people don't take the best deck and they use it as an excuse.
Yeah,
and I'm saying some people. I used to do this loads. Like it's like you don't take the best decks like ours because I was playing this deck. But it's like that's just like who asked you to play that deck firstly? So it's your fault. You chose not to take the best weapon. And then the other thing as well is that I think that in terms of helping you get better, it's just leaps and bounds because the best players play the best decks. And so like for example, like I have access to so many very strong players right now that are just telling me what to do with Snake Eye and stuff. And it's like there's things that I'm learning. Like every day, I learn so much about Snake Eye, and I wouldn't be learning it if I was playing like it may be Rescrace just because it's like just last format. But if I was playing like Dark Lords, for example, I mean, yeah, like I'd be stuck in like 2006 or something because there's no good players who are even looking at that deck. So I just feel like if you want to get better, like it's gonna be hard. I would even say even if you're not good at the mirror, still good. If you're not good at the mirror, you weren't gonna top anyway. So just take the deck anyway and learn it well. Like I don't think there's a problem with necessarily playing rogue, but I definitely think if you're trying to get better, I agree. Play the best deck. It's just so.
And even if you're not someone who knows they're not going to take the best deck for X or Y reason, online simulators are free. Like it's 100% worth getting. I don't know, just a cookie cutter version of the deck, building it, doing test hands, because then you'll just know how to play against it, right?
Like, like for example, like getting that simulator like knowledge of like, okay, well, I have access to all the cards in front of me, so I know what every single card does. Means that you'll be able to go, okay, well, if these are all the cards and what they do, and this is what the deck does, how do I beat it? And that's where going in with that rogue strategy comes in. Because I think a lot of people just go, oh, I'm just going to play this deck because it's my favorite deck. It's my pet deck. And they don't think, well, actually, what am I going to put in here to like beat all the other decks?
Yeah, and oh, sorry, you go, Andre. You go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just to add to that, like obviously I've listened to everybody's conversation. I think just as a little bit of a caveat, I think you should play the best deck for you. And the reason why I'm suggesting this is because in a like 10, 11, 12 round YCS, some people don't have the capacity to be able to think on a meta level through all those rounds. And I've done this myself where I've just picked up Fluenderies because I thought I'm going to be at this event from, I don't know, 10 o'clock in the morning to potentially 8 o'clock at night. I'm going to fatigue. And I know the Fluenderies lines are as linear as a spirit level. Like, it's just going to go in one direction. And I'm going to be able to do the same thing. And all I need to think about is my interactions with my opponent. Not playing through that. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like there's a bit of merit into doing that, which is probably why I would, as well as having access to cards myself, would lean towards like other strategies. Just because for me, it's just ease of mind. Do you know what I mean? Whereas some of you guys can just constantly just be on that level of just like, you just did like God mode all the time, and you're just making these off-meta decisions. Like, I can't do that sometimes. I'm thinking about when I'm gonna get a milkshake, or do you know what I mean? So
No, I get what you're saying. And to be fair, with a lot of people that say, "Oh, I'm going to this regional," or "I want to do really well," I say, "All right, well, play the deck that you think you know the most, and that you won't make the most mistakes with." And if that deck is Flunderies or if that deck is Kashtira, then by all means take it. Like, you play the deck to do well, Like, you don't just play it because you like. Some people do enjoy the game, like, in all honesty, rather than like, you know, going, oh, I've got to go play Yu-Gi-Oh this week because I've spent thousands of pounds into this.
The thing is, actually say that that's literally me right now. I'm like, I've already got these flipping cards because of flipping Rescue, so I kind of have to play it now. Yeah, so carry on.
Nah, like there are people that do enjoy the game as well. Like I like myself, I do enjoy the game massively, and I want to improve massively myself. But you know, I know there's some people that, you know, just go, oh, gotta go play Yu-Gi-Oh this week because I've got a Snake Eye deck and I've got to make the most out of it.
That mentality is mental to me.
I mean,
Like, even from someone who like takes the game seriously on a competitive level, that mentality to me is mental.
Do you know what it is? As someone who has that mentality right now, do you know what it is? It's because for me, it's like, so again, last format, I really, really love playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I don't, well, I feel like actually you guys probably do get it. I really like Risk Ace, in case you haven't realized. And so I really enjoyed playing that, which made me invest loads to play, well, not even Rescue loads, but I got a lot of cards to play Rescue Ace. And then we came into this format, and I was on an improvement journey as well, which I'm still on now. And for me, it was like, okay, well, I'm still trying to get better. I don't like Snake Eye. I think Snake Eye is boring to play. I don't really find it that fun. Like, it's got some interesting lines and stuff, but I don't think the cards look cool. I think they look stupid. I think they have stupid names, all these kind of things. And so it's like, I came to this format though, and it's like, that's so clearly the best deck. And I've got the cards. So it's like, if I don't play this cards, and also I'm not really someone who really, I don't like the whole way Konami does the ban list and stuff. So it's like, I don't like feeling like I've sold the cards when I shouldn't have sold them and all of this. So for me, it's kind of like, either you play this really shitty deck or you don't play at all. And for me, it's like, I'll play this really shitty deck. But I do agree that it's like, sometimes, I mean, if you look at my DB history again, like I say, I've been playing the heck out of Horus Stun, and that is fun. That is very, very fun, I think. And kind of segueing into that, so we've talked a bit about Stun, but are there any other decks that we think are going to be slipping into the format and slipping into the top tables of the opens?
I'm telling you, like, you all need to learn what UBL cards do.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
Yes.
Like, Andre, I feel like there's a story behind that.
Want to buy a UBL QCR of the fusion at all? Anyone out there?
Do you know what? I'm so rattled because on release they were 50 quid, and I really wish that I bought one because I was actually going to buy one, and then I couldn't.
Are they worth a lot now?
Yeah, like 140 each.
They've gone to the moon.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Andre, I feel like you've had a little bit of a story with UBL from the way you were saying that.
So, I don't know what it was. I think it might have even been last week at Locals. Like, I was popping off, comboing off. I'm playing like Yugi. I'm drawing cards up here, slamming them on the table. And then my opponent just puts two UBL monsters on. I'm sitting on 2 towers and he just kills me. And I'm sitting there like... I was like, what happened? Like, why did you do so much damage? And he's like, have you read this card? Have you read this card? I was like, no. I was like, what's going on? And he just killed me, and then he did it again. And then I just sat there after. I was looking at my deck. I was like, this deck's rubbish, man. Like, I've been winning with it. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, why? Like, I didn't get what was going on. And I went home and read the cards in it, and they are busted. Like, so you
I feel like
with the new support when it's coming out, that deck's gonna go crazy.
The deck's only getting better. Like, Jesse Cotton's recently made a video about it. That should tell you like it's a deck worth keeping an eye on.
Definitely worth reading the cards.
100%. Like, the amount of games that I've just won from people just not reading cards is just it's actually insane. And then they read the cards and it's like, like,
yes.
Do you know what it is about UBL as well? Like, I think if you're again, like Raid Raptors, which you've been playing, Andre, Raid Raptors get so hard counted because you can literally do nothing to UBL that they care about. Like, everything you do to them, they want you to do. So it's like, it doesn't really hurt them. All their monsters have 0 attack, so you can't burn them. All of these kind of things. Like, you put 5k damage on the board. So it's like, but it's like, I feel like with UBL, even though I mean, at the beginning of the format, I was doing videos and stuff in it. I think the only thing that holds it back right now, and that's why for me it's like, I think Legacy of Destruction is really where it explodes. It's just right now, it's just still that little bit inconsistent, that little bit inefficient. Yeah, like that's the only reason I think it hasn't been doing better. Like that holds it back. But I think after Legacy of Destruction, I agree as well. Like the deck just gets so many good cards, and then the fiend archetypes are beginning to get this really nice web of just support. So like you've got like the Yama cards. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone do it, but I assume there's probably some labyrinth shenanigans you can do with it or something because they're fiends. I mean, we know in like 5 or 6 months they're going to be getting Fiendsmith cards as well.
Those
Like there's
cards
just
are nuts.
exactly, and so I really do feel like the U-Bell cards are in a really good position. It seems as though Konami's going from Year of the Fire into Year of the Fiend, which I don't think anyone would have ever guessed. Like that just seems so random. Like, cool, sure, like all these Fiend archetypes. But yeah, I do think deck is good. I would say I don't think it's going to do particularly amazing at Open. I think Snake Eye has a pretty easy matchup into U-Bell just because they have loads of ways to out your monsters without having to hit them, and they play infinite hand traps, and that's
As long
hard for
as you
U-Bell to
keep
deal
the
with.
card, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
biggest combat to U-Bell, like I've worked this out from obviously like one trick in the deck since it came out. Is Flamberge, like, because Flamberge making all of your monsters continuous spells, they're not dark monsters anymore. You can't pop them, like they're not going to do
Exactly.
anything. You need to get that Flamberge out of there, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a deck that you need to know what it does because you are going to run into it into a regional setting, and
Yeah.
you might get clapped.
Yeah.
Other than U-Bell, I do think that one of the decks that people are sleeping on, I do think it's Manadium. Like that deck is still like very much alive.
What do you think, Ben?
As someone who has been a Manadium enjoyer themselves,
Mm.
the problem I have with I originally wasn't gonna look at playing Snake Eye myself. I was gonna stick to one tricking Manadium, and trying to just be ahead of the curve with it and like make all the hard decision choices based around it. The biggest problem is the amount of hand traps that are being played right now. Like Manadium primarily does well when it's like a 9 hand trap deck format. I find myself. I don't know. Other people might disagree, but like obviously you've got to win the dice roll with the deck if you're not playing many hand traps in that deck yourself. It can break boards phenomenally. Like the amount of times that like I've just gone, yeah, so Vicious Astral, I'll just destroy your entire board. Just like it's gone. It's just gone. But now with the amount of hand traps like Mornising play and stuff like that, it's a lot more difficult to like warrant playing the deck because you summon something, oh, we're gonna hand trap it. Oh, we're gonna hand trap this. Oh, we're gonna hand trap that. And like because a lot of the time you want to do it off of 1 to 2 cards, that's the biggest problem it has. I find myself. But like I'm sure there are probably like a bunch of people that are playing Manadium still now, that are constantly on it. Like I'm pretty sure there's like loads of people that are still playing it somewhere and like finding different combo bridges for it. Like I saw one in I can't remember what country it was, but like I think it was quite an obscure country, like Slovenia or something like that. And they were playing like Arclaw Christia in the deck and doing some stuff like that. But like I mean, again, like for me, like the deck. So, like, obviously, I've seen some of the questions that you guys are going to ask for this. And we're on the deck topics. But for me, I don't know if it's the deck for the Open that will win it, or if it will be the person for the Open that will win it.
So,
because,
expand on that then. Expand on why you think.
So, like, if you look at like the current results that have come through from UK regionals, for example, Portsmouth regional was won by Josh Kelly, playing the Labyrinth Go Second deck.
Yeah.
Now, would anyone other than him play that sort of deck to like dominate the format? We don't know. But the fact that he came up with that and dominated that whole regional with it, like I played against him and like he just blew my mind with like the stuff that he was doing. You then got like a bunch of players like your Luke Tylers, your Ahmad Rajas, Simon Hees, for example, that are doing the world's race and everything, and Gabriel Nets, for example, that are going out and like trying to find the next best thing to combat to get the points every week and everything. I don't think the deck as such matters for the UK events because, as well, on top of that, people are selling Snake Eyes very quickly because they're realizing that they're not probably going to get a premier event with it. So it might be a case that we'll see a lot of the other decks come into play because they'll be combating the Snake Eyes, but at the same time, because they still have that consistent strategy in comparison, like if they're hard countering the Snake Eyes that are there, then I honestly think that any deck could take the Open, to be honest. In all reality, like from Western and I believe Sheffield, we saw Snake Eye win both of those. Like a variant of Snake Eye win both. Like I don't know what Ahmad played, if he played the Fire King version.
No, he played pure with synchros.
Fair. So Ahmad like dominated that with the pure with synchros. Moffat dominated with Sky Striker cards in his deck. So from those two regionals, like you look at Sheffield, like I think it was like 50% Snake Eye or something daft like that in the top cut, and then like you look at the Western, I think it was similar, but like there was still a fair few other decks that like creeped in there, which was like, if you look at it in like the grand scheme of things, like the comparison from what the YCSs showed, you would expect it to probably be more, but because we have that lack of bigger events at the moment, other than UK Nationals and the Opens and everything, I think you'll see a lot of people decline off a Snake Eye just so that they sort of look for that edge in a sense.
Yeah, and actually that's a really interesting point because that is something that I've noticed, but I didn't realize it as well, that there is like a real influx of these like really innovative tops that people are doing. Yeah, like that Luke Tyler build, for example. I think he not Luke Tyler, sorry, that Josh Kelly build, the Labyrinth. I feel like I played against the Blind Second Lab deck when I was at Huddersfield, and that deck is so like well suited to play against Snake Eye. But then while it's also like you can see that deck would require a very strong pilot to play as well. So it's like the perfect storm, and I agree there are a lot of variants like that. Even Joshua Schmidt with him doing his Sky Striker Snake Eye thing as well and things like that. We are seeing a lot of that. The only thing I would say is that I feel as though even though like a player could bring something really creative and bring it to the forefront, there's always that kind of element of this deck is just the best deck.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like I feel like there's enough really high level players playing pure Snake or playing some variant of Snake Eye that I feel confident in saying that it should be Snake Eye to win. Like I just feel like the gap is so wide. Like I remember at the beginning, like Silent Force was kind of like, oh yeah, everyone's like Silent Force is like okay, and it's like now I look at the deck and I'm like, this deck is pathetic. Like compared to Snake Eye, in my opinion, it just doesn't seem like on the same level. The deck just really seems crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
But we'll see.
Definitely.
Yeah. But another deck that I actually do think is relevant, and I think it will do better than people probably expect. Is actually funny enough what you're playing, Andre. I think Raid Raptors is going to be surprisingly effective, just because I don't think a lot of people are ready for that matchup. I feel like if you're playing Snake Eye, you're in a great position. I feel like if you're playing anything other than Snake Eye, Raid Raptors actually has a surprisingly excellent matchup into your
other
deck.
than U-Bell, apparently.
Other than U-Bell, yeah. But like, if you're playing Silent Force, very, very good, because Raid Raptors plays like loads of hand traps and they put big ass monsters that you can't deal with. I mean, in general, towers are good. So if you're a deck that's putting up multiple towers, there's not many decks in the format that can consistently deal with them. So I do think Raid Raptors, and I think as well, Raid Raptors is popular enough as well. Like if you look at the price ranges of decks, I think Raid Raptors is around 150 quid. So it's like it's popular and it's kind of cheap. So I do think we'll see quite a few people play it, and I do think we'll see a few dubs of it.
Yeah, let's expand on that actually, Andre. You've been piloting a deck for like the best part of a couple of months, right? Yeah. Like, how are you feeling about the deck, and why did you pick it going into Phantom Nightmare format?
Well, I've had the core for a while, but what attracts me to decks and why I always tend to play like off meta decks is because I like when my opponent says, "What does that card do?" When they ask me that question, I'm like, yes, this is me. This is because you don't know what I could say anything. This card gets me an ice cream. Do you get what I mean? Like, and whenever I see that, it doesn't matter how clearly I explain it. They're never gonna take it in as well as keep up with all the stuff that I'm doing. Especially when I'm throwing hand traps at them. Then I'm like, all right, effect here, effect there. It's really difficult to keep pace with a deck and learn it on the fly and know where to interact. And like, I've had people like throw hand traps at me at completely the wrong point, and I feel like that's what's been allowing me to do so well as just the deck has a lot of extenders, but it does have a few. Yeah, exactly that. But I've been finding of late it's got a few teething problems. Just seeing engine as well as hand trap, that balance is a little bit off, and you need to play the hand traps to be able to combat Fire King, but then it can sometimes not work in your favor, which is where I'm at with the deck at the moment, because I've seen a lot of hand traps and I've had one card starter and it's been stopped by a hand trap and then I die in the following turn, and that's frustrating to me, just because it has to be that way. Do you know what I mean? And I accept it. I know that I'm going to lose if I don't see the right combination of cards. I'm going to lose, but you are right, Fabs. Some people are going to play, they're not going to know what the cards do, and they're just going to lose. And they're going to see 3 towers on the board, because I put up 2 consistently. You could put 3 up if you're being greedy. And you just look at your opponent and go, do something then. And they're like, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick my cards up and we're going to go to game 2. All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Deck is going to be interesting to see. I hope, well, it was actually UK from a stream last year, so
streamed.
Yeah, so the good thing is that Konami does a pretty good job of like putting on interesting decks on the stream, so we should see some pretty cool things. But the last thing we're just going to talk about is like just random hand traps, side cards, engines that we think are quite cool, and I'll kick it off with that Impulse, so Rescase Impulse and Rescase Attacker, and then Phantasmate. I think we're going to see this deep draw package in a lot of decks. I think that package is actually phenomenal. Like, the amount of advantage you can get just from playing these cards. And what's even better is that they put bodies on the board. And Snake Eye, a dark and a fire body. And right now, the Charmers are some of the best extenders in the game. I feel like who was I playing against? No, it was the lab player. Yeah, when I played against the Blind Second Labyrinth player, he was playing Princess Raging Phoenix blah blah in his deck, and he Raging Phoenix me, and it was like yeah. And the fact that you can do that, I think, is so incredible with those cards. I do think we're actually going to be seeing a deep draw package of those cards. People are also playing Magical Spring as well on their side as well. Like, that seems to really be the strategy against Snake Eye, where it's like, just put so many cards in your hand that like you can just eventually get past all the interactions. But yeah, I definitely think those are ones to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say a little spicy tech that I've been seeing a little bit more often is just Ghost Ogre. It's very, very plain and simple, especially with IPs on end boards at times, and Appaloosa being a thing. Ghost Ogre seems to be making a little bit of resurgence. It also hits field spells as well. It's not the most impactful card, but if your opponent's not prepared for it, like, and I've seen this happen at multiple locals, it can just cripple them. Do you got what I mean? You put a Fire King Island on the board and then try to activate its effect, and you just pop it with Ogre, and then the board just gets nuked. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah. I think Ghost Ogre is probably one of my favourite cards, and I think I like it right now because it does enough not only against meta. Granted, it's probably not the be all and end all against Snake Eyes, but it also hits a lot of not rogue decks, but other decks we've talked about. Like, it shits on Voiceless Voice. Like, it's really good against like random decks that will just have continuous spells and traps that will control the game. Like, do you even just get someone's boss monster off board? Like, say if you like Ogre a Raiders Knight or something against Raid Raptors, like that can be pretty strong. I think Ogre is definitely worth considering if you haven't already.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely worth a consideration. Like, more. Let's not say more than ever. Like, I have a big soft spot for Ghost Ogre because like Ghost Ogre was like a card that I won a regional with in Brave for myself. But like, I mean, I think it's good, like, for the most part, but like it depends, I guess, really on like how the format digresses. Like, again, like it could be like it's a tech choice at the end of the day. It could be the best tech choice you ever make. Like, it wins you the entire event, or it's like the worst tech choice ever because all you've played is like Flunderies and like it's done nothing against them.
It was alright.
It hits back, I guess, but
yeah, it's mad.
That's not it.
It's more like they go normal summon Ravina, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
E2, I guess.
I think
Yeah.
the thing about Ogre, I would say, is that if your deck has a fantastic matchup against Snake Eye, but struggles against Rogue, or struggles against Silent Force and Rogue, I would say it's probably a really good card. I think that the trouble will be finding that deck that has that fantastic matchup against Snake Eye, and then somehow is not having a good matchup against Rogue. But I do think
Stun,
it's
bro.
great.
You can activate it on the field as well.
That is true. That is
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be playing free E-Telly at the event.
Yeah.
E-Telly Ghost Ogre.
E-Telly Ghost Ogre, normal summon Fossil Diner.
gosh.
Sounds like GG's to me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And then I guess the other one,
First, guys, you heard it here first.
Yeah, I heard it here first. Yeah.
the other deck that I'm surprised we haven't seen more of, because I actually do think this deck has a fairly, I think this deck is better now than it was before. Is the Chimera version of Branded. While I think pure Branded is really good, I feel like Chimera Branded is actually in a really nice position right now, just because
100%.
it hits that sweet spot of being able to still play hand traps and stuff, and then it also has some really interesting dynamics against Snake Eye, like things like being able to put illusion monsters on the board that are just annoying to out for Snake Eye. They have that candle that they can play to skip the battle phase. And then because they still play Branded Fusion, they have access to not all, but a lot of the degenerate stuff Branded does as well. And then when you look at decks like Silent, like it's a wash for Silent Force. Silent Force struggles so much against Chimera because it's just so easy to out all of their cards. Chimera's got a lot of ability to control the state of the board and to just discard out cards out of your hand and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Chimera variant of Brandon is definitely going to be. I know we're talking about hand traps here, and I've gone back to decks or whatever, but I definitely think that's going to be a really good deck to look at this for these events. Things
Do
going
you
to
know,
be quite
I was
well.
gonna say, Andre Torres has been doing some bits with that deck.
Is he?
There was someone at Western that got second place with the deck as well.
Harry Foster. He's been doing bits. He's been doing bits.
Oh,
with it
is
for a
that what
while.
he's on? Okay.
I lost with him unfortunately last round.
Yeah, he did. He actually put a profile on my channel. I'm gonna play at locals tomorrow. And I will say, Emissary from the House of Wax is that hand trap that you're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
It's probably I've read the card and I think that card's actually pretty good. Because if your field gets wiped, it jumps out on the field and it just freezes the board. And I've never seen anything like it. Like you can't link them off. The effects are negated. And it just stays like that until the next battle phase. And if you know anything about Chimera, like they're attacking your monsters but not killing them. So it's like, do you got what I mean? And I think that's just a really, 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 really like crucial interaction, which has kind of drawn me to the deck. So I second that, Fabs. Second it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we get something. I don't want to play any Chimera players though, because I don't actually like playing against that deck. it gets on my nerves a lot. It's not. I don't find it that fun to play against.
And the worst is when you're playing against them. You hand trap them, they triple tap, rip a card, and then end phase Chimera, rip another card.
Yeah. And that's I'm just like, scoop it up. But okay, we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna wrap up the meta discussion with just the last thing, which is just a little bit about ban list. I don't usually talk much about ban list, just because ban lists frustrate me. Konami has no idea what they're doing with the ban list, so it's like. But if we were to do a little bit of a love tap on the ban list to some decks, what do you think? What are our ban list ones? So yeah, Ben, you lay it off for us, Ben.
So I mean, like, I've made some notes on like cards that like should probably like in different categories. So we'll go with, for starters, the cards that are at one that should probably be banned. And start off with, we're going to go with the one of the Chaos Baby Dragons, Striker Dragon, Beatrice, Called by the Grave, Chaos Space, Harpy's Feather Duster, Instant Fusion, 1-for-1, Terraforming, and the Free Floodgate trio themselves being Blue, Goes and Match, and Rivalry of the Warlords. Those are the ones that I want to see personally banned.
Zero.
Yeah, personally banned. Like, granted, Call by the Grave is probably a card that should be either banned or at 3.
Yeah.
But these are the cards that personally I want to see banned just for like deck building and like with dragons, we've seen so much of dragons in the past. Like the combos just don't change now. hit some of those cards. Maybe give some invitation to the deck.
I feel like it's really harsh hit for dragons when they're doing absolutely nothing this fall.
Oh no, absolutely. But it's one of those where it's like the minute you hit one of the best decks, people can go, "Ooh, dragons didn't get hit. Let's go look at that."
Yeah.
It's always the backup that people have.
Yeah, sort of thing like when Eternal Format ended, how they hit True Draco and Pendulum Edition as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well. Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with you on 1-for-1. I think that card is nuts. There's too many level ones that are just so powerful.
Design flaw with that card. It always 100%. Makes decks difficult to design. And it's the same with terraforming. Oh, we just made a field spell that's really good. Well, there's one card already going in my deck.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially with 1-for-1, because I would say in terms of design space, I don't think 1-for-1 itself is necessarily a bad card. I think the problem is though, it's impossible for that card to ever be balanced because it's always going to be as good as what it summons out. And right now it summons out flipping Snake Eye Ash or Snake Eye Oak. And that's another card that when I see in my hand a Snake, I'm just like, oh, you've definitely lost. When I see a monster Ash and 1-for-1, I'm like, let's peak. I'm gonna play so greedily, you're gonna nib me, and then I'm gonna carry on comboing, and you can't do nothing about it.
That's
ridiculous. Yeah, but what else, Ben? What other cards would you give a bit? Or let's pivot around and talk a little bit about specifically Snake Eye. What would you hit if you were to hit Snake Eye?
So I mean, my only big Snake Eye hit personally is Wanted Poster to 1. Myself. So the reason behind this is to stop the loop with the original name being so constant. More of a, you get it once, you get to loop the background once, and that's it. I've seen a lot of people say oh, we need to hit Snake Eye Ash to 1, we need to hit Flamberge to 1, we need to ban original name and stuff like that. But if you look at it in a vacuum, Snake Eye only came out in November, in the long term of things, and if you start hitting for example, Snake Eye Ash, I see more of a power card rather than a consistency card. It's the main card that starts you off with all your combos. And it's all the cards based around it. And the thing is, I don't think they can hit Bonfire straight away either, because from a marketing point of view, it would just be awful for them to do that. So I think putting Wanted to 1, granted, it makes all the people that bought Wanted at £80 each regret their decisions. But
had a year to use it.
Yeah, you still get to use the card at the end of the day, and you still get to play the deck. It'll just be a little bit less consistent, a little bit less resilient to certain things, and you'll see a lot more. Oh, well, he opened Hard Witch because it's at 3, or he did open the 1-off. That's the only thing that, in the actual main deck, I think should probably get banned. I think cards like Summon Limit should probably go to 1, maybe as a little love tap. Just. Yeah, the fact that deck, it's like Dragon Rulers all over again. The fact that deck can literally turn it off whenever they want to is just ridiculous.
Very, very irritating, yeah. I don't know why the heck Summon Limit is still in the game. I think, not only that, the reason why I think it should actually be banned is just because of its wording. One of the things I really don't like about its wording is the fact that it affects summons you've done before. So it's they just flip it, and there's literally 0 counterplay to Summon Limit. They just flip it. Cosmic Cyclone doesn't count as counterplay, by the way. That's just a card that counters it. It's not actually counterplay. It's if I have Summon Limit, there's no incorrect decision for me, really. I can just wait till you to summon twice, and now you can't summon. And yeah, that card should go. And yeah, if there was some way to only allow stun decks to use it, I'd probably be fine with it, but there isn't. So yeah, card needs to get the heck out of here. Yeah, but I feel so. Funnily enough, I saw someone say, I won't say whose video it was. No, I won't even say the card. But someone made a certain. No, I will say the card. I don't care. I saw someone in a video make a comment that they should hit original. And
yes.
Oh, you're talking about me?
No, it wasn't your video.
I said that on the podcast.
Oh, but no, it wasn't your video. It was. I'll tell you guys whose video it was afterwards. But that said original, and I really don't like the idea of hitting original. I think original is a incredibly unfair hit. I feel like that card is so it's so problematic, and I see why people want it to be hit. But I feel like hitting original is so
it just kills the deck,
it kills the deck so unbelievably hard. Not only that, it makes half the cards in the deck crap now. Like
Yeah.
it
Makes
is
it awful.
really, really harsh hit. And then not only that, but that hit not only kills Snake Eye, but it actually kills the Wanted engine. Like you putting Wanted to 1 is annoying for my Wanted engine. You putting original to 0 is like, why do I even have this now? Like it's a really bad Omni negate now. So I really don't want original to be hit. I couldn't see Konami doing that yet. I could see them doing it eventually, but I couldn't see it doing it yet.
I think people are looking at that as like the end game hit to Snake Eye.
Yeah, if they haven't power crept it by then, maybe.
It's a bit early for that, I think. And looking back in hindsight, I think it was maybe a little bit aggy of me to suggest that should be the hit. But I do think if you outright want to kill the deck, that's the right hit.
Yeah, that's the way to outright kill it.
To be fair, if we wanted to kill the deck, you just ban Poplar. That's the deck had all of these cards before. It did absolutely nothing. It's Poplar is the card that you really hit, and then the deck is doing nothing.
People just go back to playing Rescue Ace then.
I'm sorry, do you see? I don't see a problem with that. Like exactly. Look, by the way, anyone who hates on Rescue Ace now, I'm just going to be like, did you guys enjoy last format more than this one? I know you did, which means you like Rescue Ace. Yeah, you liked it. Rescue Ace was the best deck. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, to be fair, I think I said as well about original, but I think I was a bit early in the format, a little bit naive. Thinking about it now, I wouldn't actually mind if they got the Rescue Ace treatment, where they did attack the Ash and make it just a little bit less consistent, because I feel like it's a bit more risky throwing hand traps at it. Do you know what I mean? It's the likelihood of them playing through like interaction is a bit lower, and I kind of like that idea. Without taking away a majority of its tools, it still can do exactly what it did before. It's just that it's a little bit more vulnerable. I don't know if they're going to do that, but it would be nice. Original, I think, is a little bit heavy-handed, and Wanted seems like the most logical choice. Like you were saying, Ben, I do agree with that. But just to give some room to some other decks, because if they don't do any of that stuff, like it's the year of fire, isn't it? And I haven't got sunglasses like Ben, so you know, like, do you know what I mean?
How do you get sunglasses? These are yellow filtered glasses.
I know. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think another card which someone mentioned, it wasn't my idea, but someone mentioned I think is actually a really good idea. I think this should be with another hit, but I think Link Rebo is actually a good card to hit as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. That card is a big part of the Snake Eye deck. It does a lot, and just it facilitates a lot of interesting interactions where they can basically for free dump a monster in the grave whenever they want to. So I think a Link Rebo hit would be nice. Like that card is. The problem as well is that it doesn't banish itself. That always happens with cards like where it's like you can just keep doing it over and over. And like in the grind game, that's one of the biggest like I feel like skill checks as well, where it's like people don't realize you have Link Rebo in the grave. So it's like they've hand trapped you, you make Link Rebo, they out your Link Rebo, but they can't kill you. Then next turn you normal summon Ash, they chain Impem. Oh well, I've got Link Rebo in the grave. Now I go plus infinity and I win. Yeah. So
I can see that being a hit that actually happens because that card is old as well.
It
They're
is.
making any money off that.
Yeah,
It's one of the really early when. Let me even see.
I think it was like maybe the first Link one. If not the first, probably the second.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
No, it wasn't the first. It wasn't.
Link Spider would have been the first Link.
Yeah, Link Spider was
Mrs. Radiant and stuff like that.
Link Rebo came out in 2018.
It was a jump promo, wasn't it?
It was a jump promo, but it came to Europe in 2018.
It was like June, wasn't it? Power code, something like that.
Yes, in starter deck Codebreaker, it was the first.
Yeah.
Wow. And then so 2017 it was shown in Jump Promo. Yeah, 2018. So yeah, that is. Gosh, looking at stuff like this and reminds me how old I am. But
let's not play that game.
this is an old card. Yeah, it didn't feel like it.
I think Link Rebo has had enough time to breathe, and it should realistically get the axe. Because if I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. Link ones are fucking busted.
Yeah, Link ones. Literally, you don't have to give them an effect, and they're flipping cracked. It's just
yeah. I think hitting the supers is realistically what's going to happen. Like I can see them hitting Ash. I don't think it's maybe correct, but I can see them hitting Ash. Like maybe like banning like Oak or something, because that's not a money card for them. I don't think it's likely, but it's something that I've seen people talk about. I think realistically, sorry, Ben, carry on.
No, sorry. The problem with banning Oak is like it sort of hits like the main engine of the deck.
Yeah.
And you also the other issue I have with banning Oak is you don't actually weaken the deck in a way that's meaningful in terms of how it plays against other decks. What you're doing hitting Oak, they can still make almost identical turn one boards And even though they have less recursion, it's like it doesn't really matter because they're still going to
Yeah,
kill you
yeah,
turn
yeah.
3. But now you've just made the lines awkward while making the deck weaker. So it's like it's just unsatisfying all around.
Yeah,
But I don't think it's a bad hit. I wouldn't say it's a bad hit. I would say,
Not the worst.
yeah,
I
like
think, yeah, I think realistically, all the hits that I would talk about have already been talked about. I think logically, the best hit to the deck right now is like putting 1 into 1 and banning Link Revo or something. That gives the deck room to breathe still. Let's see it
I
evolve.
think another interesting hit is the field spell. I
Mm.
think the field spell is an interesting hit. Like it does. The field spell is really OP. I feel like people are starting to realize it now. I remember when it came out, like Viking players were refusing to play the field spell, and they're playing their terrible field spell that like blows up their own board. And it's like now they finally realize like we actually that the Viking players like the Snake Eye field spell so much, and they know theirs is bad that there's a combo where they shuffle their field spell back into their own deck with Unicorn just so they can put a good field spell on the board. I mean that field spell is
Wow.
absolutely insane. Yeah, so I feel like if you hit the field spell, it would be really good. And the other thing I like is that Snake Eye has a lot of unfair redundancy where if you look at the lines in Snake Eye, a lot of the times the goal is get access to original and field spell. So if you have Poplar in which you have access to both sides of the engine, and I think hitting that essentially means that the Witch package also becomes less valuable because it's like now your Poplar's already going to get your original anyway. And so it's like you've got 2 cards that are basically searching the same thing. You lower the ceiling, makes it weaker to nib. Like not doesn't lose to it, but it's weaker. And so I think field spell's a fair hit as well. I think that would actually be, and the nice thing about that hit as well is again, the combo lines don't change too much, but the deck actually is weaker, so you can interact with it. Yeah,
It's not too bad.
yeah. But before we skip off the ban list talk, is there any other deck that we feel needs a little bit of a love tap, or even maybe a bit of a release from the ban list?
I mean, there's a few cards that probably should have their you go to 1 now after the years that they've been out. Like, for example,
Risk Case Airlifter. Yeah.
well, a few examples I have is like Branded Fusion, Pot of Prosperity, Runic Tip, Fenrir. A big welcome. I'm not sure if I want it to go to 1 or 2.
0. Yeah, I agree.
I think 1's probably the correct hit if you're going to hit a big welcome.
Do you know why I think it should go to 0? I think because Transaction Rollback was the absolute stupidest card that I've seen in my life and it shouldn't exist. And
Yeah,
I feel like the interaction between that card and Big Welcome is just very it's not even good. That's the most annoying part of it. Like it's good, but it's like it's not good enough to make the deck good. It's just good enough to mean that when they do beat you, they beat you in a really unfair way. Like I really hate Transaction Rollback. I think that card is just I just look at that card, I'm like, who designed this? Like if I was in the company and I was the CEO, I would fire that person immediately. I'd just like, get out, like design cards for Digimon or something.
They had too much partying that night. They were like, dude, we're gonna make this card. It's gonna be so balanced. No one's gonna know how to use it. And then they woke up the next day after they put the post out, and they were like, "What have we done?"
That card literally just reads like just FTK with some degenerate trap. That's literally what it reads. And But I think because of that card, I think Labyrinth decides a really harsh hit just because I feel like it's hard to make Labyrinth. I like the design of Labyrinth, but I feel like a trap deck that discards can never be fair now because transaction rollback exists.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
What about you, Andre? What are you thinking?
I'm a little bit impartial, but I have had a discussion with one of my friends, and he keeps telling me Misk needs to come back to give Dino players something to play with, and I just don't know. Misk is so like if you see him more than one, it just he says that better players play around it.
What?
That's what he suggested. And I was like, I don't know, because Miss says I can't interact with your board, so yeah. That's where I'm at with that.
I think I know what you're saying. I think I do. Like, I think some people ash at the wrong time with Misk. Like, so that when they go normal summon Ovi, they try and go, oh, ash, and people go, oh, chain Misk, and then it's like, oh, this is a waste of an ash. Whereas, like, if you hold the ash for the Misk effect, you can actually like just somewhat stop their entire turn sometimes, because like they're primarily going for Archosaur in that scenario. But I mean, it depends on what he means. But like, yeah, that would be what my take from it personally. But again.
Yeah.
Know what he's talking about.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned it before, but Prosp as well. I don't feel like everybody was raving about it before because Snake Eye are just so consistent. No one's playing Prosperity. Like, I feel like if it does take a hit and other decks start getting into the format, Prosp will come back. And I feel like Prosp is a little bit unfair. Just being
six cards.
Yeah. And with the decks generally just being high, even like rogue decks, they're just hyper consistent. And I feel like we need to kind of like lower that because decks are doing too much at the moment. If you let a deck just do what it wants, even some of the quote unquote tier 2 decks just put stupid things out, like, and Prosp just enables that, and I don't think that should be a thing. And give Flu players another slot to just put something else degenerate in their deck, innit?
That's the thing about Prosp, right? Though, like when Cash was tier 0, and when a deck that is like the best deck can play it, it feels so nuts,
Ridiculous,
like, and it feels so oppressive.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm like fairly confident it is actually gonna get hit. I just feel like it's just been reprinted. The top deck is not using it. Like so in my head, I'm quite confident that it's gonna get hit. If not in this list, in the next list. But
You say that, and then Konami will just put Desires to 1. Like,
Again.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But guys, with that, we're actually gonna wrap up this episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh show. It's been an absolutely lovely episode, guys. We've gone way past the hour mark. We went past the ages ago, but I was like, whatever, I'm enjoying myself. So Ben, thank you so much for coming on. Before we sign off, have you got any shout outs or anything for anyone?
Yeah, a few shout outs, a few friends shout outs, Luke Bennett, Lewis Plimmer, Vittoria Bettany, Connor Dwyer, Ewan Jennings, Big Stu, if you know Big Stu, he's big. I could go on for hours for some, but like I'll shout out the locals. Cavern, great gaming store. Would recommend if you're ever down Gloucester way to check them out. Shout out to my team, Red Lotus, as well. And that's about it, to be honest. Yeah, that's about it. It's been great coming on here. You guys, do a great opportunity for people like myself and others to, have a talk, chat shit in a way. And yeah, it's interesting as well to see like just how a community can come together sort of like this.
Yeah,
definitely. Before we do sign off, Ben, do you have any words of advice for anyone attending any of the opens over the course of the next few
months? So if you want to take the advice, that's fine, but probably don't recommend it. Probably recommend paying someone for coaching on this, not someone that has 3 regional wins here and there, but mainly just like analyze the format, make sure you know the top decks, make sure that your card choices are correct, and make sure that like whatever the result is and whatever comes out of it, that you've had fun at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I like that.
I love it. Nice and wholesome right there. Yes, and if you're not playing Risk Case, make sure you play Risk Case as well.
And on that note,
yeah, thank you guys. We'll talk to you all in a bit. That was episode something of the Yu-Gi-Oh show, whatever.
Episode 9, I believe. Episode 9.
Yeah, peace.